Hey everyone, and welcome to a video that's gonna blow your mind. We're all set to embark on an enthralling journey into the intriguing world of elections. Today we're not just exploring how we, in India, cast our votes and elect our leaders, but we're also taking a global detour to understand how other countries do it. Picture this: a world where your ballot paper isn't just a binary choice, but a myriad of options. A place where smaller parties don't just exist, but thrive and contribute. A system where your vote isn't just a checkmark, but a reflection of the diverse society we live in. Sounds like a utopia? Well, hold on to your seats because we're about to unveil this reality to you. We're starting right at home with the first-past-the-post system that we follow in India. It's a race to the finish line where the one with the most votes wins, even if the margin is as thin as a strand of hair. From the BJP elephants to the Congress tigers and the entire spectrum of smaller parties, they're all vying for the top spot. But here's the catch. If your preferred party doesn't win in your constituency, those votes vanish into thin air, like a magician's trick. While this system has its merits, like creating strong and stable governments, it can also be a double-edged sword, sometimes leaving smaller voices unheard and leading to regional disparities. It's like having elephants rule all the jungles while pandas dominate the mountain regions. Not the most balanced ecosystem, wouldn't you agree? But that's just one piece of the puzzle. As we journey across borders, we'll encounter systems like Germany's proportional representation where every vote counts, and Australia's ranked voting system where you can prioritize your candidates. Intriguing, isn't it? So grab your chai, your coffee, your favorite beverage, and get ready to learn something new. By the end of this video, you'll be a democracy whiz, dropping knowledge bombs about elections like a pro. Okay, let's start with our home turf, India's first-past-the-post system. Now imagine a grand race where the finish line is the coveted seat of power. The participants are our political parties, each with their unique symbols and slogans. Just like in any race, the first one to cross that finish line wins, even if it's by a sliver, even if it's just by a single vote. Yes, that's our system, where the candidate with the most votes in a constituency wins the seat. Now, let's bring this race to life. Picture the mighty elephants of BJP and the roaring tigers of Congress racing against each other, each trying to gain the most votes. But this race also features a variety of other animals, each representing smaller parties, all vying for the same top spot. In this race, the votes cast for the turtles, the rabbits, or the pandas representing smaller parties could be substantial. But here's the catch. If these animals don't win in their specific constituencies, their votes vanish into thin air. That's right, they disappear like a magician's rabbit. Poof. So what does that mean for our democratic race? Well, it means that the elephants or the tigers can form a government without the need for the smaller animals. This can lead to strong, stable governments, which is a pretty good outcome, right? But hold on, there's a flip side to this coin. This system can also leave the voices of the smaller animals unheard, their needs unmet, and their representation in the government non-existent. It can create regional imbalances, where the elephants rule the plains and the tigers dominate the forests, but the mountains, the home of the pandas, are left unrepresented. Now, imagine this scenario. In a particular constituency, 40% of voters choose the elephant, 35% choose the tiger, and the remaining 25% choose the panda. The elephant with the most votes wins the seat. But wait a minute. Doesn't that mean that the majority, 60% of voters who chose the tiger or the panda, are left without a representative of their choice? That's a head-scratcher, isn't it? This is one of the key criticisms of the first-past-the-post system. Despite its simplicity and its ability to produce clear winners, it can marginalize smaller parties and potentially distort the democratic representation of a diverse population. In essence, it's not exactly a balanced ecosystem, right? Now let's travel the globe and see how other democracies do it. First stop, Germany. Now Germany uses what's called a proportional representation system. It's like a grand buffet where every party gets a portion of the parliamentary seats based on the number of votes they've received. Think of it like the total votes being a pizza, and each party gets a slice proportional to their popularity. So, even if the Green Party pandas don't win in a specific constituency, they still get a piece of the pie. This means that the smaller parties, even if they don't have a majority, can have their voices heard. They can roar out their ideas, contribute to the discussion, and maybe even influence some policies. Next, we'll hop over to Australia, a country that uses a ranked voting system. Picture this. You're at an ice cream parlor, and you've got to decide on your flavor. You've got your favorite, sure, but what if they run out? You've got a second favorite too, right? Maybe even a third. That's how ranked voting works. You don't just vote for one candidate, you rank them in order of preference. So, if your top choice doesn't have enough votes to win, your vote isn't wasted. Instead, it flows to your second choice. This way, you're always contributing to the result, even if your first choice isn't the most popular one. Now you might be thinking, hey, these systems sound pretty cool, why don't we have them in India? And that's a great question. Each system has its pros and cons, and different countries use different systems based on their unique circumstances and historical context. Sure, proportional representation gives smaller parties a voice, but it can also lead to fragmented parliaments and unstable governments. And yes, ranked voting ensures that your vote always counts for something, but it can also be complex and confusing for voters. So there you have it, folks. The world of elections is a diverse and fascinating place, full of different systems and approaches. Each one is a unique solution to the age-old question of how to give people a say in who governs them. And while India's first-past-the-post system might seem simple in comparison, it's a system that's worked for us for over 70 years, helping us transition smoothly from a colonial past to a democratic future. But who knows, as our society evolves, so might our democracy. Perhaps one day we might see some elements of these other systems incorporated into our own. For now though, the race is on, and every vote counts no matter which party's animal you choose to support. So, next time you're standing in that voting booth, staring at your ballot paper, remember, you're part of a global community of voters, each with their own unique way of doing things. And whether you're voting for the first time or the fifth, your vote matters. It's a powerful tool, a weapon of change, a beacon of hope. Use it wisely because every vote is a step towards a better future, a stronger democracy, and a more just society. This way, if your top pick doesn't win, your vote can still flow to someone you kinda like, rather than going to waste. Wow, we've sure covered a lot of ground in this video. We've raced through the first-past-the-post system, taken a bite out of the proportional representation pie, and even ranked our electoral options like a list of favorite ice cream flavors. But now, it's time for a pause. A moment to mull over all these intriguing bits of democratic systems. Every system has its strengths and its quirks, but which one resonates with you? Which one do you think echoes the voice of your community? It's not about right or wrong, but about understanding the nuances and engaging in a dialogue. So, what do you think? Could a different voting system work in India?
Oh, you might ask, with over 1 billion people and hundreds of political parties, how does this system work? The key is in its simplicity and its ability to deliver clear results quickly. While the FPTP system has its critics, who argue that it doesn't always reflect the true will of the people, it has undoubtedly served as the foundation of India's vibrant and diverse democracy for over 7 decades. So that's the basic structure of our electoral system. Quite simple, isn't it? But remember, the simplicity of the system doesn't undermine its importance. It's the very mechanism that empowers us, the citizens, to choose our leaders and shape our nation's future. Now let's unravel the mystery of constituencies and the voting process. You see, in the vibrant democracy of India, the country is divided into various constituencies for both the Lok Sabha, the House of the People, and the Vidhan Sabha, the State Legislative Assembly. Each Lok Sabha constituency elects 1 member to the House, making it a total of 543 members. Similarly, each state is divided into various Vidhan Sabha constituencies. The number of these constituencies varies from state to state, depending on the population. So, you might be wondering, how does the voting process work? Well, it begins with voter registration. If you are an Indian citizen above 18 years of age, you're eligible to vote. But to exercise this right, you must first register yourself as a voter. This is where the voters list comes into play. It's essentially a list of all registered voters in a constituency. Now, once you're registered and the election day arrives, you head to your designated polling station. It's usually a local school or a community center. Here, you'll find electronic voting machines or EVMs, which are used to cast votes. You press the button next to the name and symbol of your chosen candidate, and voila, you've cast your vote. But remember, it's not just about casting a vote, it's about making an informed choice. It's about understanding the policies, the promises, and the potential of the candidates, and choosing who you believe will best represent your interests and the interests of your constituency. In conclusion, the process of voting is a testament to the power of the people in a democracy. It's a chance for every citizen to have a say in the direction of the nation and the policies that will shape its future. So, whether you're sipping chai at a roadside stall or discussing politics over a dinner table, remember, every vote counts and contributes to shaping India's future. Ever pondered if there could be another way to vote? Let's explore. Imagine a world where instead of just picking one candidate, you could rank them in order of preference. This, my friends, is the essence of ranked voting. Used in countries like Australia and Ireland, it's a system where voters literally rank candidates. If no candidate gets a majority of the first choices, the candidate with the least votes gets eliminated. Their votes then get redistributed based on the second choices. This process continues until a candidate gets a majority. It's like a voting marathon, where the last one standing wins. Now, let's hop onto a different voting express. Welcome to the world of proportional representation, or PR. Here, the number of seats a party gets is proportional to the number of votes they receive. So if a party gets 40% of the votes, they get around 40% of the seats. Countries like Germany and New Zealand use this system, giving voice to smaller parties and minority groups. But like every coin, these systems too have a flip side. Ranked voting can be complex and confusing for voters. And while PR may be more inclusive, it could lead to unstable coalition governments. Also, the lack of geographical representation might distance the elected from their voters. So, should India consider these alternatives? Proportional representation could make our parliament more reflective of the diverse voices in our country. Ranked voting could discourage negative campaigning and promote consensus building. But would they work in the Indian context, with our unique challenges and complexities? That's a question for another day. These different systems have their own pros and cons, just like choosing between chai or coffee. But remember, the essence of democracy lies not in the system, but in the power of the people to choose their leaders and shape their future. Now we want to hear from you. Which system do you think works best? Isn't it fascinating how every electoral system, like the flavors in a cup of chai, has its own unique blend of strengths and weaknesses? Our first-past-the-post system, for instance, has often been hailed for its simplicity. It's as straightforward as ordering a cup of chai at your local tea stall. You cast your vote, the candidate with the most votes wins. Simple, isn't it? But some critics argue that this simplicity comes at a cost. They point out that it might not truly reflect the will of the people, as a candidate can win even with less than 50% of the total votes. Thus, it sometimes leaves a bitter aftertaste, like a poorly brewed chai. Then there are alternatives like proportional representation and ranked voting. These systems, with their own unique flavors, aim to ensure that every vote counts and each voice matters. Imagine a chai that's been brewed to perfection, where every spice and herb gets to play its part. That's the promise of these alternative systems. Proportional representation, for instance, is like a buffet of flavors, allowing for diverse coalitions and nuanced policies. On the other hand, ranked voting is more like a carefully crafted recipe, encouraging candidates to be more moderate and build bridges between different groups. So, what do you think? Does India's first-past-the-post system truly reflect the will of the people? Or should we consider adopting something like proportional representation or ranked voting? Remember, these are not just academic questions. They're about the future of our democracy, about how we choose the leaders who will guide us, and about ensuring that every voice is heard. So, let's discuss, debate, and learn from each other. Let's make sure that our democracy is as vibrant and diverse as the flavors in our chai. Remember, elections are the lifeblood of any democracy. They're our chance to make our voices heard. Let's make every vote count. Thanks for joining us on this global democracy adventure. As we've journeyed through India's electoral system, we've seen the vibrant tapestry of voices that make up our democracy. We've dived into the depths of the first past, the post system, explored the contours of our constituencies, and peeked into the possibilities of alternative electoral systems. But the crux of it all, the heart that keeps this democracy pulsating, is you, the voter. Your vote, like a single thread in a vibrant tapestry, contributes to the larger, intricate design of our nation's future. It's not just about picking a candidate or a party. It's about participating actively in shaping the course of our nation. So, let's not just stop at learning about the system. Let's dive deeper. Let's question, discuss, and debate policies and candidates. Let's ensure that our decisions are not influenced by catchy slogans or charismatic leaders, but by a clear understanding of their vision, their commitment, and their track record. Let's not just be spectators, but active participants in this grand democratic process. Because the strength of a democracy doesn't lie merely in its system, but in the informed and active participation of its citizens. A democracy where every citizen is not just a voter, but a vigilant guardian of their rights and responsibilities, is a strong democracy. And a strong democracy leads to a stronger India. So, let's make our democracy stronger. Let's make our India stronger.